Hello, and welcome to the ExploreVM podcast. This episode, we're going to take a break from the HCI series for a week or two to go over some of the sessions that are recorded at VMworld 2019. This episode is going to feature a few guests that have been on the show before, and we're going to talk about a few different topics ranging from some hot takes about acquisitions to some of the announcements made by the products. I hope you enjoy. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another ExploreVM podcast. We are coming to you live from VMworld 2019 in San Francisco, California. My guest currently is not his first time on the show. Angelo, go ahead and say hi.
Good to see you, Paul. Angelo Luciani. I work community at Nutanix. Happy to be here.
And it's always a pleasure to see you. It's been a little while. I've not been able to make it to as many shows this year, so I'm excited to be out here at VMworld.
Yeah, this is, I guess VMworld's typically sort of a call home place for most of us to sort of congregate each year, especially here in the U.S.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you get to the show, a lot of us spend a lot of our time over in the blogger area and the social media areas. And
Right.
This year, VMworld has really stepped up their game. We've got quite the nice podcast booth this time.
Yeah, we're recording in a little enclosed pod, I think, and it's really nice.
Yeah.
It's, I think these walls are soundproof or something. I don't know, but it's really nice.
Yeah, and compared to the plastic boxes with box fans that they had, I believe it was last year or the year before, this is a big step up.
Yeah, it's really good, really neat.
So, what are your impressions of the move back to San Francisco from 3 years in Las Vegas?
Yeah, so we're back in San Francisco. Great turnout. Lot of familiar faces back here at the show. Logistically, it's easy to get to everything. I personally find there's really just the three buildings.
Yeah,
and I know in Vegas it's typically all mostly confined to the one building, but they're so large that it can be kind of, if you really think about it, can be like separate buildings, if you will. But
right.
Yeah, it's been a good experience back here.
Yeah, I'm a big Vegas fan personally.
Right.
I like the cost of getting there. I mean, granted, I come out here most of the time. I'm on like a company trip or whatever, or like a sponsored ticket, so it's not like it's coming out of my pocket.
Right.
But for those who do self-fund, because we have a lot of that in the community, it's almost unattainable to come to San Francisco.
Yeah, it's quite expensive, and you're right, and that's one of the drawbacks is a lot of the typical community folks who are self-funded may not be able to make it out here.
Right.
So I know a lot of us do our best to relay information back to those people, and of course you can follow a lot of VMworld remotely.
Yep.
But being here, there's nothing like being at the event.
No, not at all. I'm a big fan of obviously seeing all of my associates, my friends that I only get to see once a year.
Right.
But also, I think a big feature for VMworld for me is that show floor that's just behind us. Being able to go and get in-depth demos and talk to engineers from all of these vendors on their new products and what they're working on. You can talk to your local reps, but it's just not the same as the team that has been trained up on what they're working on and what they're showing.
Right, and I actually like the, I forgot what it's called. I think it's the New Innovation Area or Innovation Hub or something. It's where a lot of the startup companies are.
Yeah.
Smaller companies. So it's always good to see what they have coming up, where you kind of get a sense of what the pulse of what's next is. So that's always good to spend some time in there and try to get some deeper conversations with those folks to learn more about the technology.
Right, and I like to take a few laps around that outer edge, the smaller vendors who are more startups. Well, I mean, there's quite a few startups that have big booths, but more startups, more like lower, I wouldn't even say lower end, smaller startups, newer startups, and kind of see where the industry's going. Because there was a time where some of these big booths, they started on that outside edge.
Right. Yeah, and it's interesting to see, too, and so when I say take a pulse of what's going on, it's interesting to see how many of these smaller companies are sort of what are they offering? and you're starting to see a lot more people offering like some kind of Kubernetes piece, and then you kind of get a sense in your head, hey, maybe this is where things are going in the next 2, 3 to 5 years. So that's something you should probably start learning and exploring.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's actually been a big theme so far from what I've seen is the Kubernetes, the containerization of applications. Virtualization's been around for a long time, and even now we're getting into a world where hybrid cloud is becoming a norm.
Yeah.
So, granted, a lot of like the technologies that are being discussed today they're not even enterprise ready yet. They're still kind of emerging. We will see them heavily in a few years, much like 3-4 years ago, the start of talking about cloud. Look at where we're at.
Yeah. Same thing with the start of, I guess, virtualization, right? A lot of us going from bare metal to virtualization. Now it's almost going from maybe virtualization to containers. Almost. I mean, in a sense. So it's almost restarting that kind of learning curve of newer tech.
Yeah, for sure. That's just the cycle.
Yeah,
that's the cycle that we're all in.
That's right, yeah.
Is there anything that you've seen through the conference, whether it be partner-related or show announcement, anything that's really kind of stuck out, or is it just taking it all in and enjoying?
So one of the things I talked about with a few of my friends yesterday was, again, going back to hearing a lot more about Kubernetes.
Yeah.
And it seems to be... I'm not saying the show's theme is Kubernetes,
right?
But I'm seeing that, hearing about that a lot of places. So it's really sticking out to me a little more, and maybe I need to crack open the books or the videos and begin to understand it a little more in depth.
Yeah, for sure. That's a technology I've got a very like a 10,000-foot view understanding of, but it's clearly not the wave of the future. It's something that's coming. And I'm starting to see more and more where it can actually be useful in not just like enterprise or huge dev shops, but a friend of mine through the Wisconsin VMworld was talking about he's a very small shop, and they've got an application that runs on a single a VM with a single core, 4 gigs of RAM, and they're always doing updates, but it's got dependencies, and when you do upgrades, it breaks it. Like, so you can get all the way down to the small shop in Wisconsin with Kubernetes.
Right, and on top of that, I'm hearing on how to make it simpler to manage and use. So that's I think a theme that I'm seeing or hearing from different people I speak with, just trying to make it simpler and easier to use for the typical VM admin role, if you will. I believe that role is changing.
Yes.
And I think many of us have been sort of suggesting that in the last couple of years. That role is whether it's like a cloud architect role or whatever, that typical VM admin role is certainly changing.
Oh yeah, and even in so for my listeners, I changed employers several months back now at the time of recording, and I went from a delivery engineer to a pre-sale, so I get to do more design and development versus like boots on the ground implementation.
Right.
And even when I was brought in, it was, okay, cool, you know your VMware very well, compute and storage, you've got a good understanding of HCI, but you need to look at cloud, you need to look at multi-site, all of these new, applications that not only play a big part into the data center, but also, like, that's where the world's evolving, so you have to be able to keep up, because that's what we're seeing.
Yeah. Is there anything at the show that's stuck out for you that sort of you've caught your ear?
So I'm looking at it as just trying to learn as much as I can from a lot of like the partners that I work with regularly.
Right.
I've got a few that I'm a fanboy of.
Right. Yeah.
But there's also ones that in my profession that I work with quite a bit. So I'm trying to obviously increase my skill set and my knowledge around my go-to-market partners, but also just feed my desire to learn more.
Yeah.
It's nothing's like, oh my gosh, it's super awesome. I think. As they continue to develop the Cohesity product, that's becoming quite interesting. I want to go talk to the folks. I haven't had a chance to really sit down with the folks at Pure Storage yet. I think they're doing interesting things.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's it's just kind of like I love coming here and just learning everything I can.
Does when you leave here or any technical conference, do you get the itch to, and maybe you've already done this, but do you get the itch to upgrade the home lab at all? After leaving a conference?
I don't know about upgrading the home lab per se, but I definitely get motivated.
Right.
You leave feeling energized. You're just like, oh, I'm going to do this. Like, look at all the things I've learned. Like, you're just excited to get back into it. And I will say I've also spent a little bit more time on the sales side, so it is nice to dive back into the tech a little bit more this week. So I know I'm going to leave here. I'm going to be podcasting a ton and blogging, and I'll be playing in my home lab more, but it's going to just get that energy up again.
Yeah, and I think as well, it's how do we keep the momentum? Because leaving here, you have that sort of rush. Yeah, that you're excited, or any tech conference for that matter. You're excited about technology announcements. You want to try new things out. You're excited about some of the vendors you've seen. You want to try some of their stuff out. And then it's that 3 months and 6 months out. Are you still motivated as you were when you left here? And I guess one of the keys to that is just staying connected with the community. And just feed off each other on, okay, so Paul's written this, he's done that, maybe I should give that a go, or I've tried this, and you read something I've written, and then that sparks some excitement in you to start it. So, yeah, that's sort of the key for future, keeping the motivation going.
Yeah, for sure. And especially with now we've got VMworld at the end of summer, we're going to get into the holidays, so that's big family time, and, in the tech world, that's a lot of projects, that's a lot of, end-of-year stuff. So keeping that ambition, that drive going, that can be difficult. But we've got a great community here to lean on and to help help each other out. So I do want to thank you for your time. Is there any projects you're working on that you'd like to talk about, or what's going on in your world that you'd like to promote?
Yeah, so just very quickly, we have Nutanix.next conference happening in Copenhagen in October.
Excellent.
So October 7th to 9th. So be sure to tune in for the keynotes live streamed. And you can follow my blog at virtuwise.com and connect with me on Twitter at Angelo Luciani.
Excellent, sir. Thank you again.
Thanks.
Hello and welcome from what we're just trying to decide if it's day 2 or day 3 of the VMworld 2019 conference. It's currently Tuesday. We are now in the social media and the community area in this awesome podcast booth provided by the conference that I'm taking full advantage of because it's nice and quiet. It's surprisingly cool, and
it really is.
It's the chairs here are rather comfortable.
Yeah, I'm actually, once we're done recording, I'm going to grab a nap in here if that's
I thought about blocking off an hour to take a nap, honestly. It's
pull the curtain.
Right, yeah, just put up a couple of things so nobody sees us. So, all right, well, seems to be a theme of my guest today. It's not a first-time podcast guest, so why don't you go ahead and reintroduce yourself here?
My name is Josh Fidel. I am currently a Principal Solutions Architect for Advisix Technologies. We have offices pretty much East Coast, Boston, New York, Rochester, Cincinnati, Columbus, Cleveland, and Nashville, Tennessee. So I get to go hang out with my southern brethren, which is nice. And I've recently at VMware, just left in June, doing vSAN and HCI for them. And now I'm at home, and I get to be home every evening and cook dinner for my kids, and it was good for me to take a step back and become, work for a smaller company, but that is no less technical. I mean, we've got 9 VCDXs on staff.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we're a very heavy-duty company.
Right.
And I really love that. They're all about training, understanding the technology, and making sure our customers get the best use of their technology.
Yeah.
Right? And make sure they get the most bang for the buck, as it were.
Yeah. No, I made a similar move. I made a change at the start of the year. It was time to just delivery of services, it kind of got to wear on me, and now I'm on the post-sale side, or pre-sale side, to get the more development, design, consultative services. It's refreshing, and there's no after-hours work, no overnight outage windows.
Yeah,
that's
there's no pager to carry, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's I get it. There's absolutely comes time for a change. Everyone goes through it, especially in our field. So, real quick, let's touch on an organization, a movement that's near and dear to my heart. Why don't you touch on VBeards really quick?
VBeards. VBeards is great. I love VBeards. we've taken a lot of flack over the last couple of years for not being inclusive and not celebrating gender and race diversity. But our motto is grow it or foe it. If you're follically challenged, you can't grow a beard, go out and buy one and join us. Just put that sucker on. Make one. I have friends who beard, and their wives have made beards out of Christmas balls, like Christmas ornaments, Legos. I mean, you name it. Ribbons. There was one woman who had a ribbon fake beard that was just awesome. I wish, V ladies, if you're out there and you're listening to this, please make some beards. Join us for the V Beards pick. Look us up on Twitter, #V, lowercase v, capital B, EARDS, V Beards. Really, all we do, I started it because I was bored, and I'm like, what kind of ridiculous thing can I do? Hey, I'm going to get all the people with beards together for a picture. So I did that at EMC World before it was Dell EMC World.
Yeah.
And, I think the first pictures had like 8, 10 people in them.
Yeah.
And now we're up to hundreds of people all across the world. All of them want to be V-Beards. Shout out to Jens Clausen. He is our European European director of V-Beards. Yeah, the ambassador of V-Beards in Europe. And he always does a great job getting people out in Barcelona. And it's just, I mean, we do basically two things. We get really loud and rowdy, and we take a picture.
Yep.
Right? And then we do sales of merchandise. And when we do sales of merchandise, we don't actually profit at all. We cover costs.
Yeah.
And then anything we make over costs, we donate to Operation Underground Rescue.
Okay.
Which is it's an organization out of Utah. They work with local law enforcement, both in the United States and around the world, setting up stings for basically pimps who would try to sexually traffic women, underage girls, underage children, to make sure that those guys get arrested, they do hard jail time, and make sure their victims are taken care of appropriately. What's the word I'm looking for? When you go back into society. Assimilated,
reintegrated.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of these kids have some really serious trauma. I mean, they've been trafficked and taken advantage of and hurt. And as a dad, as a bearded dad, that's
can hear the sound of the beard
being stroked. Hear the stroking of the beard there. As a bearded dad, there's nothing that really breaks my heart more than to see that kind of thing. So that's why we want to raise money for them.
Right.
So those are the two things we do, and we want everyone to come.
Yeah.
The more people, the merrier. We're just loud, kind of stupid, and we have fun.
Right.
Oh yeah. But unfortunately, I put a survey out on Twitter a little while ago. I said, congratulations, dear reader. You have the option to adopt one of two chimpanzees. Would you like to adopt the fun, happy, loving chimpanzee or the constantly throwing poo chimpanzee? And everybody chose the happy, fun chimpanzee.
Right.
Right? But yet there are still people who, if you're having fun and being playful and ridiculous, they want to throw poo.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for them. I wish they would just come hang out and be ridiculous with us and have fun. Right. I am a little disappointed. I'm the only guy who showed up in a kilt for this year's picture so far.
And it's beautiful weather here in San Francisco. It's prime kilt weather. But, it's something I don't have in my wardrobe, and I know my wardrobe's lacking. So
go out, get a kilt. I'm a big fan of Damn Near Kiltum. Yeah, let's make sure to tag them when you put this podcast
We'll
up.
do.
Damn Near Kiltum. The great utility kilts. They got great sporrans. Like, I can carry all sorts of stuff around in my sporran. However, don't ever run with a heavy sporran. It is not good. And somewhere out there in the UK, people are going to listen to this and just laugh.
Right.
Because they know. Right. So that's V-Beards in a nutshell.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we do. Yes, a bunch of technology-minded people who just want to be goofy and look like dwarves. Basically. So.
I know my face looks much better with some beard going on.
Yeah, your beard's looking really good, actually.
Yeah,
you don't have much gray in it. I thought you'd have a little bit.
Yeah, off the record, they might accidentally come out when I'm trimming and cleaning up.
Okay. Yeah, I'm past that point. There's so much white now. I'm just like, whatever.
Yeah, or as I like to tell my wife, there's a lot of sun bleaching going on.
Yes, it's chlorine from the pool.
Yeah, I do spend a lot of time outside, so the sun just kind of it beats up the hair.
Yes. By the way, today is my birthday.
Oh, well, happy birthday.
Thank you. I turned 47 today.
Nice.
How did I get so old? I don't know.
I believe that happens to all of us.
It does.
Last I checked, we all have birthdays and we keep getting old.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. I had 3 drinks with dinner last night, and I woke up and I'm like, oh, why is it 6 a.m. already? Just 3.
Props to Rubric for what they did last night.
I've heard good things. I was not there. I've heard really good things, though.
The Wu-Tang... I mean, okay, so the part that kind of sucked is they opened the doors at 8 p.m.
Okay. And
people stood around drinking until 11 p.m. before the band finally came... Before Wu-Tang finally came on.
Yeah.
So, if we're standing around for 3 hours drinking, there were a lot of very intoxicated people with sore feet.
Right.
Yeah. But still, it was a heck of a birthday party, so good on Amazon Web Services, good on Rubric.
Yeah.
Got Wu-Tang out.
Yeah, I've been to a few of their events in the past. They put on a good show. Rubric, that is, not Wu-Tang.
Yeah.
I've not seen Wu-Tang.
Oh.
But
well, they put on a good show, too.
Oh, so. I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's also kind of nice to see that there's a little bit more of a mixture of events this year. If you want to go to the standard vendor party, and have a bunch of cocktails and just dance or whatever, that's out there. Right. But now there was a baseball game because we're back, in the city with a sports team. So there's a baseball game last night. There's Cohesity's doing Hamilton.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Props to getting IT people some more culture. Yeah. Good job, Cohesity.
Yeah, no. So there's other events outside of just copious drinking.
Yes.
Which I'm not going to deny. I've enjoyed in the past, but it wears on you.
We may have engaged in that behavior in the past.
There's no video proof. I think.
I hope there's no video proof.
So back on the more of the conference track here.
Right.
There's obviously been some announcements. VMware looks to be very active. I believe a friend of mine who works there said there's been 7 acquisitions this year. 7.
Well, we know they picked up Avi Networks.
Yeah.
Is that right? Avi? Is that how
yes.
Avi Networks?
Avi.
Reminds me of my friend from Israel named Avi. That's why. It's Avi Networks, Carbon Black. Pivotal.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about that. Man, I forget. Istio?
I don't even know that.
Heptio? Heptio, I know they did.
When was Bitnami or whatever?
Light Bits? I don't remember. There's been so many you can't even keep them straight anymore.
Yeah,
right?
No, it's been a ton.
And the thing that troubles me is VMware has always had a really great ecosystem of partners.
Yeah.
Right? Security partners, storage partners, automation partners who can help with things. And it just seems lately, they're moving into this. We are the monolithic superstore of virtualization.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We have all the products. Oh, you need security for your cloud? Have some Carbon Black. You need a software load balancer? You don't need F5. You don't need, whatever. You just use Avi Networks because this is our new thing, right? And I really think it's going to be detrimental to the partner ecosphere because there's, not every company is a massive Fortune 50 or Fortune 100 company that can afford to spend millions of dollars every year.
Right.
Just for VMware products.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they're kind of becoming like the Microsoft or the Oracle of the virtualization world. It's a little scary.
It's a lot of growth, and you can look at it as you got to keep up to date. You got to stay ahead of the curve, and you've got to be able to fight in this climate. There's 200 or so partners out in that vendor hall.
Out on the floor, yeah.
And obviously they're trying to do all those things as well.
Yeah.
But at what point does it I was having a conversation with somebody over dinner last night. They're making these acquisitions. That's not the word.
Accusation.
Actually,
no, it's an accusatory acquisition.
Right. They're making all of these acquisitions, and it makes me think back to the late '90s when the government went after Microsoft because they got too big. They were doing too much. Granted, there's still a lot of competitors out there. You could argue, well, AWS is a thing. You don't have to use VMware. And you could argue about other platforms. But it does seem to me like seeing that on the horizon. They are going to be big. And there could be pushback. And leaving all politics out of this, you hear politicians in the news saying, break up Facebook, break up Google and Amazon. They're too big. So you've also kind of got to look at that coming down the pipeline, too. Not that anything will actually come of that. But
I don't think anything will come of that.
It's a hot take right now is what it is.
It is, really. It's at least from what I've seen, it's basically conservative voices in government who are freaked out that we don't get the same freedom of speech that the left does, so we should break up these companies. Well, if you want freedom of speech on the internet, make your own thing. That's what's beautiful about it. However, I mean, if you go look at Conservapedia, which is like the conservative Wikipedia, wow, is there some fake science, fake news, fake whatever going on there? But I also take the point of view, and people think, well, you're dissing on the right, you must be a lefty. Actually, no, I hate the left too. Yeah. I hate anyone who's too extreme on either side. But we're getting away from technology.
We are.
Let's talk about finance and money and VMware. Because you brought up money with VMware. So VMware has continuously over the last, I'd say, 18 months, maybe a little bit more, started increasing their licensing rates.
Yeah.
And they're also pushing very, very hard with every single customer to get an enterprise license agreement.
Yep.
And the reason they want those enterprise license agreements is because then their accounts receivable looks better on paper, and the stock price will go up, and investors will think, oh, well, this is a better bet.
Yeah.
Right? Which is understandable. However, it's also putting a squeeze on IT departments. IT departments are constantly do more with less budget, less people, less everything.
Yep.
Right? And if you're driving their VMware licensing up, they're going to look for alternatives.
Yeah, and being in the field of VAR, being in consultation, we've seen that, and the partner does what they can to help battle for the companies versus VMware and make sure they're getting the best deals and discounts and utilization. Yeah. But the whole subscription model that everybody's going after is really starting to, I think, impact technology budgets.
Yeah. Well, and it's also a shift from the CapEx model to the OpEx model, right?
Yeah.
With a budgetary model, you say, okay, we're going to spend X amount over the next year. With OpEx, you're like, well, we're going to try to keep it within this budget, but it's the cloud, and we all know what happens with the cloud. Prices go up, you spend more, you spin up more, things aren't being utilized correctly. Actually, I really like, have you seen, there's a company called Morpheus Data?
I've heard the name. I haven't really interacted with them much yet.
Very, very interesting product. Very interesting.
They're
down. Yeah, they're down here.
Okay.
They're out on the floor. I'll take you down sometime.
All right.
But very interesting product. It actually handles. I would say its closest competitor in the VMware realm would be like a VRA VRO combined. But they do automation to AWS, Azure, Google Cloud Platform. You can integrate it with ESXi. You can integrate it with vCenter. You can integrate it with Puppet, Chef, Ansible Tower.
Okay.
You can do tasks. You can link tasks, so you have like huge, deployment tasks or day 2 tasks.
Yeah.
If you're working with, like your internal environment, if you're doing external stuff with it, it actually gives you costing and has an advisor for, hey, this is only running at such and such a percentage utilization. You could downsize it and save money. And it's kind of a great product. I've got a lot of customers who are looking at it. And the number one thing that customers love about it is it's about 50% of the cost of VRA and VRO.
Excellent. Right? That's good to know as well.
Yeah, that's huge, right?
Yeah.
That's VRA, great product, VRO, great product, but costly.
Right. For sure.
And I understand it's Michael Dell's got a lot of debt he's got to pay off quickly. Right? So he's going to do things like have VMware buy Pivotal because then he can filter the money back to Dell. And I think everyone, not just in Silicon Valley, but I think everyone in the IT world, reporters, you name it, everybody understands what's going on right now with Pivotal and VMware and Dell EMC. It's just a shell game.
Yeah.
Right? We're just, where's the P? Where's the P? We're moving our stuff around.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my hot take for the day.
Only one hot take?
Oh, well,
I thought I knew you better than that.
I mean, I have literally thousands, but I don't want to take up too much of your time. So.
Yeah, no, we've been going for quite a bit here. So I want to thank you for your time. Actually, that's a good time to call it a session. Where can people find you online? Do you have any projects you're doing? Any blogs? Anything that you'd like to promote?
So yeah, sure. Check out my SoundCloud. No, I'm just kidding.
I was wondering about the face tattoo.
Yeah, right. Yeah, going back to your. So you can find me on Twitter at JCE Fidel, Fidel. My last name's Fidel, just like Castro. You can find me at the V Fidel, THE letter V FIDEL.com. That's where I do my blogging. And currently I only have one blog up right now about why I left VMware and what happened there.
Right.
But I do have some other blogs that I'm putting together. Some of the stuff about the new announcements. I got some stuff on vSAN performance I'm putting together. I'm actually going to do some blog posts on Morpheus Data because I think it's a great product.
Excellent.
They're backed by like $1.5 billion from a hedge fund manager.
Okay.
So they're not going anywhere.
They've got good funding. Yeah.
They've got awesome funding. And a little behind the scenes dirt, I already know that VMware's going after them.
Oh, okay.
Which is funny because I met some of their executives and I'm like, hey, I hear this and this about these things. And they're like, psh, they're just trying to knock us down with legal fees. Don't even worry about that.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah, well, that's how the game is played, I guess. Sucks, but that's
Absolutely.
how it's played. Yeah, so the VFidel. And, of course, you can always check out vbeards.com. And, again, VBeards is for anyone if you can grow a beard or not. If you can't grow it, go ahead and faux it. Buy a fake beard, make a fake beard. Join us, and hopefully we'll see you online.
Excellent. Once again, thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the ExploreVM podcast. Once again, we are live here in glorious San Francisco, California for VMworld 2019 in the social media and bloggers area of the formerly known as Hang Space, now the Square, in Moscone, I believe, South. It's interesting to see what they've done with the renovations. It's a little cleaner. It's nicer than it was a few years back. I will say, and I've said it before, I miss Vegas, but such is life. And once again, as the theme of the episode is continuing, I have another repeat guest with me. Go ahead and say hello to the listeners.
Hello, listeners. My name is Sean Tulin. I'm a senior V architect with Dell EMC, and it's great to be back here in San Francisco.
So we're day 2, day 3. It's Tuesday. We've had 2 keynotes. What do you think of what's been announced so far?
Today's keynote was just demo overload.
Yeah.
And it was great because it started to really put things together. So you combine yesterday, you had, Pat came up and did a great 1-hour set and started to put some context around the acquisitions. I mean, VMware's been on a buying spree this year.
Yes.
And they bought a bunch of companies, including making some probably their largest announcements last week.
Yeah.
Around Pivotal and around Carbon Black.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Today, we started, to see the demos of where that goes in. So Pat yesterday started to paint the picture of why they acquired these. Because a lot of people were asking, why did we acquire these companies?
Right.
Trying to figure out the strategy. Was it financial? What's the benefit of it? Are they just going to strip it for the IP?
Right.
Today, we started to see some of the demos, and it really started to make sense where, things like the Kubernetes support and the containers. they showed off a version of vSphere where the containers just showed up like regular virtual machines, and you could manage them the same way as regular virtual machines because of the native integration of the containers into it there. And then we started to see a lot around the threat analysis. What NSX is doing at looking at network traffic, the Carbon Black stuff is going to start inspecting, virtual machines and stuff like that. And the way you can mesh that together for automated and machine learning threat analysis on there up on stage. And the demos were action-packed, and they went so quickly, and it was just one after another after another. Like, you didn't get time to catch your breath. My fingers were hurting by the end of it because I was snapping so many photos and just trying to tweet and keep up with everything going on stage.
Right. I believe one of the people I follow, Patrick Kramer, he was just a tweet machine. I couldn't believe how much stuff he was sending out with screenshots, like with pictures during the keynote.
Yeah, and I tried to do the same there as best I could. Every time I would put my phone up, 3 people in front of me would put their phone up to take a photo. It's just like,
right.
Great guys, come on. But there was so much good stuff there. They showed off what they're doing with Wavefront and being able to sift through the noise of all the telemetry data that's out there to really zero in on anomalies and stuff like that was really cool.
Yeah.
One of the actual really most interesting demos, and a big theme has been lately this year, is it's a multi-cloud world.
Yeah.
And we've got VMC on AWS, we've got VMC on Azure.
Great.
They had 2 VMs that were up, and using HCX, live vMotioned them to the other ones without dropping a packet.
Right.
They were still going up, still doing telemetry data, and we swapped them live on stage between Azure and AWS and then back again.
Right.
And that was really cool. And that, HCX is a very recent announcement. It's been something they've been working on for a while, but that's going to be, the key to that multi-cloud strategy.
Yeah.
You see a lot of people talk multi-cloud and everything like that, where they're focusing on one aspect of things there. A lot of them are focusing on, I'm going to handle your on-prem version of your multi-cloud strategy and leave you to, now you have more time to figure out the cloud. Right. You don't have to worry about on-prem. That's great. But this is the ability to fling things around.
Right. A big theme that a few of the other guests have commented on is we're seeing Kubernetes. What's your take on the big push? What seems to be the big push this year? It's not truly the theme of the show, but it's definitely got a huge presence this time around.
Well, sure, and I think a lot of people we're now acknowledging the elephant in the room. I mean, for a long time, people were like, "No, VMs are the thing. Containers, that's a fad. That'll pass."
Right.
I think the economics of it all, the cloud providers that are nickel and diming for everything, have driven innovation in condensing things. The whole, shrinking down your applications and stuff into smaller and smaller packages, thus the containers. It's just the way the economics have driven that innovation now. So now that it's gone mainstream and everyone is developing around it, now you're seeing, we have to support it. And I think that was part of the acquisition of Pivotal.
Right.
Is going to make it easier to fold that in on a VMware ecosystem. I see VMware's announcements that we want to be your platform of choice, okay? Whether that's on-prem, whether that's in the cloud, whether that's a combination of it, whether it's doing traditional virtual machines or deploying apps in containers or groups, anything like that, clusters of things. VMware wants to be your control plane and your single point to do everything.
Right.
And they've done that. Someone said it, I think on Sunday, but it's innovation by acquisition. Not that they can't come up with anything, but they're acquiring these companies because they have the vision, and now they can get the groundwork and take it to the next level, injecting the money into it there. So the people who have started down this path, VMware can take those products to the next level.
Right. And then when you're just not a solution that's being bolted on or being used in a data center, you get a better performance when it's actually built in and tied into the product as well.
Yeah, they were saying that the native support for the containers running on VMware was getting like in the new version is getting like a 40% boost versus trying to do it as containers inside of a virtual machine.
Right. And there was something going around about performing better on ESXi versus on bare metal. I haven't seen anything to back that up. It'll be interesting if it does. Like, that's crazy. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see how that all pans out.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I can think of is that VMware, as a hypervisor, has better schedulers in it than, the other underlying operating system or something that you'd be running.
Right. Knowing that you're from Dell EMC, there was a Dell EMC announcement this morning during the keynote, and I know it's not really your wheelhouse, but do you want to touch on that really quick?
Yeah, it was, to me, it was actually really interesting to see up there. So we are getting into like the smart fabric in the edge network area space, so the SD-WAN space. Mm-hmm. And they didn't really call it what the appliance is, and you can go to the booth and find out a bit more about it. But they were showing off, here's a Dell EMC server, because they showed it off from an ESXi perspective. And inside of it, it had two smart NICs, which are NICs that have ARM controllers on them.
Okay.
So we can have custom software written for that we can change very easy, instead of having to try and deal with like device drivers or, obviously having chips that, a system on the chip that needed to be updated where we've got a proper chip in there. These showed up as virtual machines inside, like as a subsystem of the host. So now the host and this edge WAN device becomes manageable inside vCenter. And they were saying it went kind of understated, but he was saying these are not nested virtual machines. These are native VMs running directly on the smart NIC cards themselves that allow a whole new level of interaction in the system and provide HA and everything. So they showed that off on stage today as well.
Okay, cool. Well, I want to thank you for your time. I'll let you get back to the show floor here and wandering around. Where can my guests find you online? Any projects you want to promote? Anything you got going on?
So, I'm going to be posting a few blog posts from here. Obviously a summary of the keynotes and what I saw with the demos, as well as probably some new stuff. My day-to-day is still, the converged and hyper-converged infrastructure. So I've gotten to spend a lot of good time here looking at, VMware's Cloud Foundation and that whole offering on VxRail as well. So you'll see some updates on that. But you can always find me on Twitter. It's just, my first initial and my last name. So just, at @stulin. For a wealth of information. There's probably, especially in the mornings, just photo overload from all the keynotes there.
Yeah. Well, excellent. Well, once again, I want to thank you.
Thank you for having me.
As always, thank you for listening. There is one more VMworld episode coming up next week, and then we're going to get back into the HCI series after that. If you'd like to join the conversation about the ExploreVM podcast, would like to be a guest, or have an idea for a show topic, email me, paul@explorevm.com. Find me on Twitter @explorevm, or facebook.com/explorevm. Once again, thank you for listening.